Welcome to Reflections, the podcast that biblically encourages, equips, and empowers women for apostolic life and service. Here's your host, Dr. Cindy Miller.
Welcome, ladies, to Let's Talk. We are here at General Conference, so any moment we may be interrupted and you're going to hear noise in the background, and that's okay. Our topic today is on why women need friends, and so I have gathered some friends with me to talk about this important subject. Life is sweeter when you have a good friend. So social scientists are claiming that loneliness is the new epidemic, and what we're hoping in this episode is we're going to shine the light on a cure, right? So I am Cindy Miller. I'm your host. With me today in the role of supportive friend and co-host, we got to share a mic, Jenny Russell. And our special guest is the one and only Sister Connie Bernard. We're so glad you're here.
I'm not the celebrity here, so just so you know.
She's not the celebrity. We want to make that really plain. So a little joke, you might get to hear the blurb later. Sister Bernard is the wife of David K. Bernard, General Superintendent of the UPCI. She's mom, grandmom. She's a visionary with a never-ending stream of ideas, great ideas. And she has the smarts to pull together creative teams of women to help her achieve her goals. She is a Texas girl, and she knows how to be a good friend. And so thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So as we're starting on this topic, I want to talk about women, friends, and the difference between what it means to have women that you're friendly with, women that you're friends with, women you work on a team together. Because we want friendships that are meaningful. We want them to last a lifetime.
Right.
Or at least a long time, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
Amen.
That's kind of where we're going with this episode. So one definition of friend is a person attached by feelings of affection or personal regard, one who gives assistance. A modern definition includes a person associated with another as a contact on social media website, as in we've never met, but we're Facebook friends.
I have 10,000 friends. Oh, yes, I do have lots of friends.
That's because you're a celebrity.
But you're right. I mean, we've all been friends. We won't say how many years we've all been friends, but we've been friends for a long time. But Facebook friends, I think this generation has a different idea of what friendship looks like because of the social media aspect of it. So are you on social media?
Well,
Not
I pretend
really.
I'm on social media. I try not to be. Are you on social
I
media?
am, because I have several public pages.
I was going to say,
but
you have different roles.
I tell people I'm really not a social media person, but I stalk every social media page to find pictures of my kids and my grandkids. So
That's true.
that's how I use social media.
That's true. I do tag
And then
you.
connecting, I have the Facebook page with the Just Between Us, the Ministers' Wives of the UPCI. And that is a dear group of friends, but we can get onto that later. But yeah, I'm on there some, not very much myself.
But that's kind of like the blend. They're your friends.
Yes.
But then some are followers, and
Yes.
some you're friendly with.
Yes.
Because I feel like there's a lot of people I'm friendly with, but I wouldn't feel like, I could share heart with them.
Absolutely.
But I'm friendly. I like you. I like being with you.
Right.
It's fun to be on a team with you, but I'm going to keep me to myself.
Yes. Yes.
I think you said, but I do think what you said, it's who you would share your heart with.
Yes.
That's what a friend
Yes.
is to me.
I agree. I love the way the Bible describes it. Proverbs 17 and 17. Y'all all know this scripture. A friend loves at all times, and a brother, and in this case a sister, is born for adversity. The NLT reads, a friend is always loyal, and a sister is born to help in time of need. I love that. So, Sister Bernard, what are the most important traits that you look for in a friend?
Well, we've talked about different levels of friends, but to me, when you're talking about that deep heart friend, number one, loyalty. And that comes through years of trust and going through those ups and downs together. But also just being real and understanding. You're going to see the good and the bad, and that's okay. And that you give someone that's a close friend, I give them permission to speak into my life when they see things are not right. And that goes along with when you know that they can do that, that other side of that coin of affirmation, and that's a great job, that comes naturally. Because, and to me, I kind of sense it as, when you're, and this is a different area, but I'll not go far there, but when you're a pastor's wife, when your people know that you love them, and I look at a friend, I have probably a couple of good friends, but probably my dearest friend that knows me the longest is Carol Johns. Brother Darrell Johns is our assistant general superintendent. We started ministry together in Jackson in 1981, and that's 43 years ago. And so we don't see each other maybe once 2 or 3 years, but we talk when we need each other, and it's as if time doesn't pass. And she's not here at conference this year, but I text her, I send her pictures. That's a true dear heart friend that you can share everything and it's safe. And to me, those dear heart friends is what I call it, is someone that you can be safe with, that that they love you and they will hear anything and they understand you, that it's not anger and it's not, you're just going, it's one of those blah moments that so to me, a deep friend, a close friend is someone that's loyal, someone that you can trust, someone that knows you, knows the real you, and you've given permission, you have given each other permission to speak into each other's lives. And my mom, of
when
course.
You have those blah moments.
Yes.
And you just are
blah, 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 blah. They understand that that's not your real person, but you're going through something, and they get it. Yeah. And that's, to me, that close friend is, you get me, you understand.
And those are rare.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, Jenny, make a list. Jenny and I are doing an informal survey today. She's making a list. So I put on mine, loyal, honest, trustworthy, an encourager. So like what you're saying.
Yes.
But you know what? I think one way you can kind of separate out women who are going the distance with you are women who celebrate your wins.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of competition. They talk about men being competitive, but women can get very competitive with each other, right? And so someone who celebrates wins and is supportive in a way of helping you accomplish your dreams, because there's a lot of people that'll be with you, as long as, you're not too far ahead. But then it's like all of a sudden you get some wins and they're more that tearing down than that lifting up.
Yeah, and you have to filter through that. But again, if they're one of your close friends, that's not going to happen. But there's a other level of friends that when you're engaged in something or you're involved, you're connected because of an event or a ministry, and you tend to get to know them over events. They can still be, to me, a good friend, but it does take time to build the trust. Mm-hmm. And, I have some amazing teams, but I'm in a unique situation. Because nobody's going to come up and say something to me negative most of the time, because I'm the general superintendent's wife. So that is unique I don't get to see a lot of that other side. I'm thinking, I know the world is not just a complete Pollyanna world, but I don't see a lot of the negative. And so I have to really purpose in receiving when that does happen. It's like, oh my word, it shouldn't shatter your world. And the more you work with people, just on general level, people are people. You're going to hear things. I've heard things that people have said, and it's, why would they think that of me, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's the level that we're at, and it's that some of that jealousy, some of that coming in, or not understanding. And that's typical, too, of people passing judgment when they don't see the whole picture.
But it goes back to what you said earlier, having that one person that is willing to speak into your life and say, hey, I know 50 people just told you that's great, but let me tell you, girlfriend, that's not great.
Yes. And I've learned, and maybe this isn't, I'm not saying I'm unique. I'm not a celebrity, so, but I tell people all the time, because I am doing events, and I want to hear criticism. I want to hear, but I feel confident who I am. And that's a big deal. There's a lot of women, and it's not their fault. They've been raised in situations that were never told that they were loved. We're never told you're doing a good job. And so that those tendencies, and more than both of you are counselors by trade and degree, that is something that never leaves them until someone comes to them like a friend that can continually overpower those negative things and thoughts till they actually start believing, hey, I do have something to give to the world. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And maybe if we have time, we can come back around to that, because not only talking about having friends, but that really gets into how are we going to become a good friend?
Yes. How to navigate that. Yes.
Yeah. And I think not only looking for friends, but examining our own self to say,
yes,
am I being a good friend?
Yes.
And sometimes we're really lonely, and maybe it's because people have tried, but we're not really being a good friend.
Yeah.
But I want to ask, before we move on to that, I want to talk a little bit about, the loneliness as an epidemic. And then, so how are people navigating life? Life is tough. It's a lot of beauty in life, but there's also the battles. It's a lot of meaningful, great things are happening, but I get worn out by the storms.
Yes.
And so resiliency is really the way we're going to navigate.
Absolutely.
We've got to become resilient, and resiliency there's skills you can develop to become a more resilient person. And resiliency is simply the ability to bounce back. In tough times, you have the capacity to handle the difficult situations and emotions. But there's one thing that resilient people have in common, and that is they don't just grit their teeth and bear it, and go through it alone. What they do is they find connections. They tap into their network of support. If they don't have one, they learn to create a network of support. And so we talked a little bit about this, but if you want to say more about it, so you have this unique position, huge heart. You truly are so loving. And I hear people say that all the time. When she's talking, you feel her love. So you love so many people, women, you're engaged. You want to be their support. You want to be there for them in numbers that we can't even imagine. You're pouring out. You don't have to mention names, or you can, but how did you go about creating your own network of support?
Well, a lot of this started with, even in self-reflection, even in, Brother Bernard my husband's always been in positions. Since we were married, he's been in positions. Not that he sought, but just because of his training, just because of writing the books, things that we went through in our first area of ministry, that we were pushed back on doctrine, pushed back. And his debate skills went into high gear, and that's how some of these books developed. But in all of that, I had to learn that I was a different person than he was, even in marriage. And that's a whole nother story. I was intimidated for 5 years of my husband. And I thought the Lord had to really work on me. You're not him. I didn't call you to be him. I called you to be you. And in all of that, I will say that my mother has been my dearest friend. Now, your husband is always your best, your buddy, you're with life together. At some point
we're fortunate.
And do what?
If you're fortunate.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
that.
We will lose our parents at some point. And I'm at that point. My mother's 86, will be 87 next month. And we talk about it all the time, that I don't want to lose her. I want her to always be here. But your husband's always there with you. But through all of that, I had to learn that things are going to happen. People are people. I taught a Bible study on slippery shoulders. You have to learn, you don't take everything in that's received to you. That's said to you. A lot of times, even if, and I'm speaking those mainly, and I know it's for women and everything, but all women, and if you're in ministry, you will be in some form of leadership.
Yes,
if you're simply working for God, people are going to watch what you're doing. So I had to learn that you're going to always have people that push back to you, and it may be their insecurities. I had to learn that, okay, I need to go back and look. What am I doing right and what am I doing wrong? That situation that just happened, how could I have handled that better? And a lot of times I will just shut down because I don't like conflict. I'm not used to conflict, but I can handle it now. You learn that. But it's just, I had to learn intentionally, think through the process to be a friend. How would I have wanted her to react to me? How should I react to her? And you got to be a friend to have friends.
Sure.
So all of my friend building and how to learn that resilience, it was intentional. Okay, I see our trajectory as our ministry, and it will probably be always in some type of leadership. I was raised in a home that my mom gave me confidence to be who I was, and I'm very thankful for that. I don't take that for granted. And so I thought, how can I use these traits that you gave me, God, as a people lover, as someone that wants to invest in people and help them to be the best they are, even when I know what my inadequacies are. I could tell you right now, I could write a whole page full of things that I think I am not good in and I don't do well. I tell everybody, look, Brother Bernard has all the letters behind his name. I make great chocolate chip cookies. And I can sing you a little nursery song anytime. So I had to be very intentional in building within myself what I wanted to see as a friend for me to be to others so that I could help them. Because from our marriage, I was already in leadership mode. Okay, how can I help people? But I did have those two dear friends that could hear anything from me and know that I'm reaching out to help. Even in the Minister's Wife's Breakfast, I said, we need friends. Don't isolate yourself. Don't be shy. I'm a shy person. There's plenty of other shy people. Just take a chance on someone. And if it doesn't work out, and we'll get to that later, I think, but you have to be intentional and the type of friend that you want to have, and then you put that in yourself. You create your, we all know what our negativity, our faults are and what we need to work on. But I tell everybody, if you see something I'm doing wrong, or even in an event, I want to hear your criticism. I want to hear your critique because I want to make it better. And you could have someone come and when they, this and this, then you immediately you learn to peg people. You learn to read people. Okay, you listen to all of it. Just like when we used to have CDs, you would get a CD with 10 songs. You might pick out 2 of them that are just fantastic. The others are great. So you kind of pick and choose the things that you hear, take the things that will help you, and then just pitch the rest of it. And that's the Bible study with slippery shoulders. Many times people will come to you and just do the whole blah thing, and you're not even close to them, but you represent God to them. And so you're the closest thing to God. So they're just going to go blah with their problems, and they pour them on you. We can't hold that. You have to let that go and give it to God.
So what I'm hearing is you're saying, not only do you have to have something really going on in yourself of confidence.
Yes.
Like you have your mom, you have your husband.
Yes.
You have your friend. You mentioned Sister Carol Johns.
Yes.
You have that. So if you're not sure about yourself, if you're not sure the voice you're hearing in your head is sound and stable, you do have people to run it all through.
And you have to be intentional in creating those friendships, like you said from the beginning. You don't have, and I tell people this all the time, years ago, or you hear someone, a young minister, and first thing I want to say is, well, poor you, when they say, I don't have this close friend. I don't have these close friends. I can count on half a hand how many close friends I have. That is a fable of the world. You don't need a ton of close friends. It would be overwhelming to intentionally try to keep up with all these close friends. But when you have 1 or 2 that get you and they understand, I may not talk to Carol Johns for 5 months just because both of our lives get busy. And it's not that we don't want to. Oh my word, I haven't talked to you in forever. And then we pick it up as if it was just yesterday. Those are the close friends that anything happens. And she knows it. I will text her a 10-inch text of everything. And she'll say, I hear you and I'm so sorry. Sometimes we just need to for them to say, I'm so sorry. They're not always going to have the answers, but just to know that someone is saying, I get you and I understand that and I'm sorry. I'll be praying with you about that. Keep me posted. Let me know how you're doing.
That sounds like you've just kind of made that difference between what we talked about earlier.
Yes.
I've got a ton of people I'm friendly with. I love working on a team. But you've got those backstory people. Like we've shared 100 miles together at least.
Yes, and they know the real scenario.
Exactly. I love that. I want to use this scripture. Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. How do you interpret this verse in the context of women's friendships?
Well, again, I think we talk about, when I think of women and when there's adversity or there's jealousy, I always go back to the old phrase of there's a cat fight coming on. It's just, and I think, how can I say this? I'm just going to be very blunt. To me, someone that continually is projecting that or attacking is basically immature in their relationships. Because when you go through some things like that, if you step back and you realize, okay, that just went down really wrong, how can I fix that? And I guess I'm always looking at the self-reflecting. How can I make the situation better? How can I speak to her in a way that she knows I'm not criticizing her, I'm not condemning, I'm trying to help her? And that's that level of when it's your close friends, you can tell them whatever because you know that they love you and and they know that you love them. But that other level of trying to help others, I'm in a more of a leadership, and I think when I think of iron sharpens iron, most of the time what I say is not going to be one-on-one. It's going to be from a podium or saying something. And it's much easier to say that when you have a group. I know Brother Bernard, when we had someone that was having a problem with something, when we were building the church, we were creating new policies, and someone just went, oh my word, I cannot believe they just did that. Okay, let's create a new policy. And we talked about it to the whole group. So one person was not feeling attacked, even though we were at the process of working on them. We really wanted them to hear it. We spoke to the whole group, if that makes sense.
Right.
And so my way of the iron sharpening iron has been through teaching and through talking at a public level and not one-on-one. But the one-on-one, I think I go back to if they know that you love them, just like a pastor's wife or a leader's wife working with a group of women, if they know that I love them, they will receive what I say. But it's also how I say it. I could say, you know what you said in that session, I don't mean to offend you, but you clearly said that a lot better. Or I can say,
called you a celebrity instead.
Yes, but I could say, you know what, that was great. But I think if you put that on a little more of a positive note, that they would have received more, because I want them to get what you're trying to teach them. So I always go on the basis of, let's make this better, so that those that you're trying to reach or those that you're trying to talk to can get more of because what you're saying is great. And I want them to hear everything you're saying. If that makes sense.
It makes sense, but it's going to lead into one of these really sticky situation questions. Yeah. So, sometimes we are in friendships for a long time, or
right.
we're in relationships that we just kind of find ourselves in, and we're in them for a while. But some of them are really unhealthy.
Right.
And as we're growing, as we're maturing, as we're healing ourselves, and God's doing a work in us, maybe that sister friend did not grow along with us.
You, yes.
And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation where it's not even a friendship anymore. Our relationship is an unhealthy connection.
It's not healthy. Yes.
Yeah, it's not. So
I call those, it's toxic. It becomes toxic to you. Yeah.
And so what do we do? How do you know when it's time to reconsider that? And how do you go about ending an unhealthy connection?
Well, if it's the level of friendship that you're able to talk about the conflict or what you see, and it is true, women go through different stages and seasons of life, and sometimes, and I believe it begins on how they were raised, because that stays with you forever. And all of the upbringing and some of that, when you know this more than I do, when emotion starts picking up, they resort back to their core personality.
Right.
And the Holy Ghost can deliver people from many things, but your personality, God works on it. But
right.
You know what I'm saying? So
we still got stuff that
we still have
that
stuff
God's still healing.
And so I think there are seasons in women's life that sometimes, and I'm just going to be kind of blunt, even in that hormonal stage, some women have a hard time adjusting, and they change in a way that sometimes it's hard to come back to. They change and it's not good. And there's some, you've both worked with people that you just really don't know if they're going to ever get out of that.
Right.
And you can't continue to connect yourself with people when they're that way. And a lot of times I've had situations that I've said, I love you and I will always be here for you, but I think you're working through some things that you're not willing to change, and I will help you with those changes. But if you're not willing, and again, I go back to, if it's a deep heart person, that connection's not going to be broken. But that next level that you're good friends with, and you've got a good core group, and one of those starts to change, then you have to distance yourself. And it goes, I'm a big communicator. And if I love you, then we're going to talk about it. And I will say, I'm sorry, but I'm going on with God, and I feel like you're struggling with this. And so I'm here for you. And then if they still don't get it, I just start stopping the communication train.
Right.
I'll say, I'll get back to you later. I'm not going to lie about it, but I'll say, I can't talk to you right now. And a lot of times I'll say, I'm not at the point where I really want to talk with you about this because I don't think you're there yet. Mm-hmm. And I do it in a loving way. I don't think you're ready to talk about this. And I love you. We've worked together on these projects forever. And how do you, and I know it's like, how do you feel about that? But it's like, tell me what you're really, you're struggling, but there's something going on much deeper than this. This is what I'm hearing, but there's a lot going on. So, and I'm not perfect, but if you need a friend to talk to you about it and help you through it, I'm here for you. But you've got to be, I'm just a very frank person. You've got to be willing to want to help yourself. Mm-hmm. I can't help you with that if you're not willing.
Well, I think it goes down. Here's the thing. There's some people that they're just going to be offended. Like they're not going to want. I had that happen in my own life.
Yeah.
I knew there was a problem in a relationship. Like, can we talk? I asked for forgiveness. This person never wanted, like,
you can't change the trajectory of their offense.
Whatever I had done was a huge secret that, if I couldn't guess it, then, I wasn't worth dealing with. And at that point, I really had to say, I'm still your sister in the Lord.
But I'm sorry, I can't.
Exactly. I'm still your sister in the Lord. I am responsible to pray for you, to love you, care about.
Yes.
But apparently, our time together,
I think
is really
honestly, if you've worked with someone closely like that, and that it comes to that, then I feel like that person, because we've worked closely together, we've given each other permission to speak into our lives. And so I cannot continue to waste emotional and mental energy trying to help you when you're not using your own emotional and mental energy to help yourself. You don't want to. And I use this in a speaking engagement. When I speak, a lot of times I talk about stew. I love stew. And you have a roast, and you make the vegetables, and you make the sauce, and you have roast. My mom used to make roast every Sunday, and my brother would come, roast again. I wish I could have her roast every Sunday still.
Your mom's roast.
Yeah, my mom's roast, yes.
Hers.
And then she would make stew. And then if there was a whole bunch left over, she'd freeze part of it, and we'd bring it back out. I kind of put that on the parallel of, like, women like to stew sometimes. Mm-hmm. They'll make a roast. Some situation will happen, and then they will scramble it up and still talk about it, still chew on it. Then they're going to want to put it in the freezer and bring it back out again and chew on it again because they want to stew. Sometimes women love to live in chaos. Their lives were chaos from the beginning, and it's hard to get out of that chaos. And chaos feels more comfortable than a renewed life in Jesus Christ, if that makes sense. They don't know what to do with peace. And so those people will always be toxic if they're not willing to allow God to help them grow past that. And that communication is, I'm here to help you, but if you don't want to help yourself, I can't help you anymore.
And I'm so over the drama. I'm older. I don't have the energy.
To me, that's where I talked about the maturity level.
Okay. Well, can I add to this piece?
Point it toward her.
Oh, here we go. Can I add to this piece?
Be your friend and help
thank you. What you guys were saying, what I really feel like I'm hearing too is, first of all, be biblical. We know our friends, but we be biblical first and go to them.
Yes.
But I think what you said too, Sister Bernard, is really good because I have a lot of people, especially, at this age, college age.
Yes.
I've made these friends. How do I get out of it? Because it's not healthy anymore. But what you said and what you and I have always experienced too is when you know them really well, you know how much you can say after a while.
Yes.
I know they're not going to hear me.
Yes.
And
because you know them and you know you need to give them time. Yes.
It's hard though. It's really hard when it's been a long
friendship.
Long time you've been in. Not even. Somewhere a friendship
and
died,
even personal.
It
hurts. It hurts, and there's sometimes you can't express that hurt. You can because they don't understand how hurt you are because they can't get past what they're feeling. They're too focused on their own. It's a tunnel vision with what they're dealing with. And there have been many times I say, I think you just need to take a break. Yeah. And I don't want to say anything else. And because I don't get heated. I'm just not that type of person. I'm not going to continue. But sometimes people say, we need to stop this conversation because I don't want to say something that I will regret later. I'm not that way. I'll just say, we need to take a break so that you can really think about this. I'm here for you. but I can't spend any more energy helping when you're not willing to help. And that's my big thing is if you're close enough to them, they're going to know that, and they're going to know. But if there's a deep heart friend, the empathy there is more than anything else. Like, I understand where you're going through. Talk to me about it. Don't clam up. Don't shut down on me. Well, I'm going through this and I don't even know how to. Okay, well then just take some time. But when it's still like, because people do change sometimes.
Yes, they do.
And there's sometimes you have to cut ties when you realize it's not only affecting you, it's affecting your family. It's affecting how you relate to other people. And when you know that, and you have to control that on your end.
So that's going to lead into our last question. I can't believe it's going so fast. We're almost out of time. But so we all know women who have made this statement, like, I've been really betrayed in my friendships. I've lost friends. I've been betrayed. They talked about me. They turned on me. They are not loyal. And so they're withdrawn. And we all know the importance of friendship and laughter. I mean, we love to laugh together.
Yes.
And we can make each other we think we're funny, even if nobody else does, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I don't want not one of our sisters to not have that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
So what would you say to that woman who's like, you know what, it's just easier to be friendly, but I don't let anybody get too close? Any thoughts about that?
Well, I've seen that even when we were pastoring, the mamas trying to fix everybody from a distance. And a lot of times I would try to pair someone up with them to see if they could have friends, become friends. But again, that person has got to be willing to have a friend, and you can push in on them and say, come on now. I think a lot of the things that you're going through could be solved if you had someone close to you that you could talk to. And if their trust has been broken and they're wounded by that, then that's almost a situation where you almost have to, it's almost like coach, like, come on, you can do it, you can do it. Tell them, okay, just take a chance one more time. Find someone, and even help them. If they're a close friend of yours or a friend that comes to you, is like, I just don't have any friends, maybe you can find someone that their personality might work well with. But I tell people all the time, you might try to make friends and you're lonely and you want a friend, then go have coffee with them, but be very candid about it. I really need a friend, but our personalities just may not gel. And I've told someone, you know what, I love you and we're going to get along fine and I'll help you, but I know you're a more quiet person. I'm not going to put you in positions that you're uncomfortable with. You just find those one or two that your personality clicks with, but that person has got to be willing to go beyond. So to me, I try to nudge, I try to help, I try to be a friend to them, but then I try to guide them to other people. And, all of us in leadership, we can't be friends to everyone. I love mentoring. I tell people, text me anytime. And in this position, people think you're so busy. I'm busy traveling with Brother Bernard, but day to day, there may be a 2 or 3 hour stretch that I've got free time. And if I don't have free time, I'll tell you, let's connect at 4. Let's connect, but you can help others to try to connect. But they've got to rebuild that trust. But it's a little bit like
matchmaking at some time.
You have to, and it may not work. And I tell them that. I said, you know what? It may not work. But don't be upset and don't be offended. Your personalities just may not gel. But you've got to be willing to get beyond. And I think when that happens, there's so many aspects of insecurity or so many wounds that they've got to work through. And those are the kind of things, you really need to just talk to a professional first. Clear out some of these things that you cannot become a friend because you've got so much. You've got to be willing to be a friend that can give. And if you're not in a level that you can give out, you're not going to find those close friends, because you might still be wanting those friends. But if you're always the needy one and not being able to reciprocate that same level of friendship, it's going to be hard to maintain a friend. So to me, those that have been broken, they have to start trusting someone at some point, but they have to be willing to do that.
Well, take a chance. Not everybody's the same. Not everybody's going to let you down.
Right.
But I think, too, find women who have common interests.
Absolutely.
Like if you love reading books, join a book club or start one and invite people to come.
Yes.
There's all kinds of ways but you got to find if you'd like to bake, get other people, but find people with common interests.
Right.
But honestly, nobody can do this for you. You've got to want it for yourself.
And to me, that's the thing. You have to be intentional in wanting to have the friends, but you've got to want to be able to work on yourself.
Yeah,
and
I
that's
agree.
in the beginning. I said I self-reflect all the time. If you see something in me, even in the other levels of, like, I just finished a conference that we did, and I told the whole team, you see something in me that can make this better for these girls, tell me. If there's something I need to say or say different, tell me. That's a self-reflection, but you've got to have that confidence, and so many don't have that confidence.
No.
So I think they need to be able to be willing to rebuild that trust and know that not everyone is going to hurt you. Not everyone is going to wound you. Find those that have your common denominator of you love people or you want to be helpful in ministry, and grow from that.
And you can have fun with, for sure. Jenny, last thoughts before we end our conversation.
Oh, I just think this has been such a rich conversation. And I'm taking away things that, being self-reflective, being vulnerable, finding those people that you can trust and have fun with, as well as those deep talks.
Yes.
So I've really enjoyed this time with you, Sister Bernard. This has been really rich.
And someone like you celebrate wins. You are so good at celebrating other women's wins. And I love that about you. Yes. So thank you, our famous celebrity, Sister Bernard.
Non-celebrity.
And somewhere, you may understand the joke that's going on here. I don't know, but it's pretty funny. You're very much a gift to our organization, and
Thank
we
you.
do value and appreciate you. And I appreciate my co-host, Jenny Russell. She's my longtime friend, huge supporter of all my big ideas. And I want to thank all of you for joining us, all of you standing around for joining this episode. Yes, thank you for being here. So Reflections Magazine has both digital option, print options, and I hope you subscribe to the magazine.
Tell them it's also Audible now. You can get the Reflections magazine, and if you are a traveler, you can listen to the whole thing. I just saw that.
Isn't that
Learning?
cool?
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
yesterday.
That's amazing.
Like, we're just doing all kinds of cool things now. So get involved, and always share. We want you to share Let's Talk, the podcast, with everybody. We don't care if you know them or not. Just share it with them and get them to join us. So do that now. And we want you to prioritize friendship.
Yes.
Women need other women in their lives
Amen.
for so many good, healthy reasons. And let's cure this problem, this epidemic of loneliness. Until
Amen.
next time, God bless.